This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This is your Christmas with the Campbells leader fan Radio Network.
Tweet that.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 11 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Daylight Saving Time. Welcome back. It is a midweek edition of a program we call Bumper to Bumper. We're delighted you are along for the ride, as ever long you can stomach it. But we're going the distance today, right? 6:30 tonight. We're not out early. It's another late Wolves start. All of the action, including the pregame show to the pregame show, right here on the Fan. Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line is open at 64686. My name is Dan Barreiro. I host the program. Guardsy produces the show as well, and we are, of course, delighted that you chose to join us. If I understand this correctly, if I said to you the date of May 19, 2004, would it mean anything to you?
I feel like that's got to be Game 7 against Sacramento.
And that, of course, is the last time your Minnesota Timberwolves wrapped up a playoff series at home. That's the opportunity that is afforded them tonight. That's how long it's been. So 21 years. And by then, that was the year I quit being an Inkstain wretch.
Yeah.
I did feel some FOMO because of that. But as I recall it, weren't we seated side by side for Game 7?
Close. You and I was with my dad for Game 7 in the crowd. You and I were seated side by side for Game 2.
Game 2, okay.
When they were down 1-0 and dead in the water in Game 2, if you remember. I think they were down 8 in the final 3 minutes or something.
They absolutely were in trouble in that game.
At home, and they somehow stole that game and then obviously got going. But so you and I sat next to each other that game.
Game 2. I wonder who I was sitting with. I would assume I was there.
Yeah.
Because I would have felt FOMO if I didn't go.
Probably .com Tom.
That's how bad my memory is. I thought it was Game 7 I was seated with you because I thought we were talking about, because even in Game 7, there was some iffy stretches in the fourth quarter.
There were.
Where you go, they might be in trouble here. They might be one more made Chris Webber basket from being eliminated at home, which would have been, of course, a devastating outcome. So 21 years later, I think I got the math right on that.
That's crazy.
We have another opportunity. Now, of course, we had it a year ago against Denver, correct?
No, we were down 3-2 against Denver in Game 6. We won the first 2 out there, lost the 2 here, lost Game 5 in Denver, and had to win Game 6 here because they had home court.
Oh, that's right. So we had, and so then we go out there and then steal it in Game 7. We were down at that point.
Yes, we were down 3-2.
So we had to win that one.
Correct.
Just to continue the series. Phoenix, we did not have a chance to wrap it up at home because we were too good, because we won the first 2 games here, correct? And then we went to Phoenix and we swept them. And so there was no opportunity to get to Game 5 and have a celebration here. So if the Wolves do that tonight, if indeed they make history for the first time since 2004. Now, was that the game where KG then got up on the scores table?
It was.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes. Maybe the best complete game of his career.
It may well have been. It may well have been the game where he did everything, including score, right? He did. We should probably get that box score to double check it, but he was magnificent in that ball game. The energy in the building, I'm wondering if tonight, if they win, will the energy be as good? It's such a different era. And then, I mean, there was still then a lot of baggage, right? Because the Wolves had been terrible for a long time. Then it was one and done for an endless series of years, right?
Yep.
So as I recall it was electric in there.
Oh, it was wild.
So
I bet it will be tonight.
And that was to get to the conference finals.
It was.
Correct?
Against the Lakers.
Against the Lakers. And tonight, I think it would be too. I don't know if something's been taken away. This isn't a Game 7, right? This is a Game 5. The feeling is we're going to win because they don't have their best player, and we don't have to apologize for it. But I'm wondering if all that will take a little bit away from the reaction compared to what took place 21 years ago on this very same date.
46 minutes for Kevin Garnett that night. The Wolves won 83-80 to show you the differences in times. They won the game despite making just 3 3-pointers. And the Kings, remember, who were like the hip now with it, and wow, Rick Adelman wing it around offense.
Corner offense.
They only made 8 threes. It was just a different time. There was no missing 43s and still winning, like everybody's been doing in this postseason. Garnett, 46 minutes, 32 points, 21 rebounds, 5 blocks, 4 steals, 2 assists. Made a 3-pointer as well. He was 12 of 23 from the floor.
Wow.
And the highlight most people see or remember besides the scorer's table moment would be the crossover right wing, I think on C-Web, who was guarding him. He goes by him and then dunks it on the right side. That may have clinched it.
Yeah.
May have given him a little extra breathing room. I don't exactly remember, but that's what I'll remember about that game.
That's a
32 and 21. That's pretty good.
That's that. Well,
5 blocks, 4 steals.
Because obviously a lot of his career, he wasn't the big, prolific scorer. He did everything else. He ran the defense. He rebounded. He guarded everybody in his prime, block shots, etc. And he might score. But that was a game where he was also magnificent as a scorer. So you're right. That might well have been, given the stakes and the circumstances, his best all-around game. We're going to get to plenty of Wolves today. In fact, Michael Grady is going to join us next segment. In addition, bonus Johnny Athletic. I believe that's 4:02. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then Kessler in studio at 5:30. It's, I guess, all but official. Christmas with the Campbells, as in the Dan Campbell family, or if you want to call the Detroit Lions the Campbells. That's who we're going to meet up with here, correct, on December 25th, as the ongoing schedule reveal is taking place in real time. Here's the games I have that have been reported to this point, okay? And this is pretty juicy, too, because I don't remember how often we have started the season with the Bears or the Green Bay Packers or, a division rival. But week 1, Monday night, September 8th, at Chicago, is being reported. We know that we're back-to-back in Europe, right? In Dublin on September 28th, and then against Pittsburgh, and then in London on October 5 against Cleveland. I mentioned the Christmas game. I think it's a triple header on Christmas Day. We are the middle game.
Okay.
We are the second afternoon game, at least that's what's been reported, against the Lions. And then we also apparently, can this be possible? December 21st, we're at the New York Giants. 4 games apart?
4 days apart.
Is that possible? That's what the Star Tribune is reporting.
I mean,
December 21 at New York Giants.
Yeah.
That's a meat grinder. Then we got to blow right back here to prepare for the best team in the NFC North. Well, they might not be by then, but that's what they are at the moment, right?
Yes. We see that with the Thursday games.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. That's what it amounts to. That's a very quick turnaround. There's no question.
That's tough.
So those are the ones I have. Dan Wiederer, our old friend who used to write here, now writes for the Chicago Tribune, says that the Bears and Lions will finish the regular season game with a game at Soldier Field. And Ben Gessling speculates that it could well mean that the Packers will close out the regular season against the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
But I don't
think Vikings would, yeah.
Excuse me, what did I say?
The Packers would, yeah.
The Vikings will close out against the Packers.
Week 18.
That would be in week 18, and that would be the first Vikings-Packers regular season finale in 10 years. Since 2015, Vikings beat the Packers at Lambeau on Sunday night to win the NFC title over Green Bay on that occasion.
That's right. That's the famous Zimmer picture from the bus.
That's it.
Where he had a very satisfied look on his face.
So this is the day where it's going to all come out, I believe it's 7 p.m. Central.
I think so, yep.
But as has been custom, and this is a smart thing about the NFL, they let some stuff leak, or maybe reporters do a good job finding some things or putting some stuff together. And so you get really an entire day of hits, right? Where people are, well, that's a good matchup. Well, that's interesting. Well, how did that happen? Are we getting screwed there? Why are we playing there rather than someplace else? But that's, if you have anything to add to it, let me know. But that's what we have from various media reports. That's the latest that I have right now. Is that?
That's pretty. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know who to believe. There's some people that have the entire schedule out. Random people that say, "Here's what we've come up with."
Yes.
I don't know, but I think we've got the principles. I think we've got the most important ones.
Yeah, those are the. So the beauty of it for us is out early that Monday, right? Pregame show.
We will be.
Well, that'll be a short show.
It will be. Yeah. And as we mentioned, you get out of Sunday sermons back-to-back weeks with the international games.
Yeah, well, I will have a long 2-hour sermons the day before, I guess. That week, because the Vikings will not play. Mm-hmm. They'll be playing on Monday night. But that's... do we know when the last time is we opened in prime time, like on a Monday night?
Off the top of my head, I don't
remember one.
No, off the top of my head, I don't remember.
Does that mean they like us, they really like us, or are they infatuated with the Bears?
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit of both. But, people like JJ, both of them. Jets and the new one, JJ McCarthy.
That's true.
The Vikings were obviously really good a year ago, so there's that too. I would imagine we're going to be in some pretty good primetime spots.
So we'll keep an eye on that if other nuggets emerge throughout the course of the program. We'll be able to update you, and maybe there are other people who have some ideas of how else this might indeed go. Because we already know who are playing home and road, right? It was a matter of just, at this point, the dates.
We know who and where. We did not know when. That's what today represents.
Exactly it. All right, let's talk some Wolves. We have not caught up with Mr. Grady in quite some time, the TV voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves, as they prepare to try to wrap up their second-round series and prepare for a conference finals against, either Okie City or Denver, and I think there's every reason to believe that series is going to go the distance. I will be shocked if Denver doesn't return the favor and win Game 6. But we'll talk about all that with him. Wolves, maybe if they take care of business tonight, having a little extra time. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Last time we thought maybe they had too much time on their hands. But we'll get his observations on the current condition of the club. Meantime,
FanandBigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our National Cash Contest. And the keyword for Wednesday, 3 o'clock, is cash. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword cash.
Tech.
Game 5 tonight. All the action can be heard on the flagship FM 100.3 The Fan. Pregame to the pregame today from the cage, as usual, Guardsy.
You got it. Yeah, Max and Parker Fox will be there.
That starts at 7.
I think it's 6:30.
Oh, 6:30. Okay, immediately after we're done. Even better. Michael Grady, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Welcome back to the program. It's been way too long since we've caught up, so I hope you are doing well, sir. Thanks for giving us a minute or two.
Always good to be on with you, Dan. Appreciate you.
We definitely appreciate you, and I'll just give you sort of the general toss-up question. When it seems like a lot of people who are around this team a lot trace much of the turnaround to Randall's return from injury, and certainly from a record standpoint, it seems like something has been galvanized pretty much ever since. This team has, I think, since the first. One of the best records in the league, if not the best. So, from your chair, from your perspective, why are we here? Why is this team in a position where if it wins one more game, it returns back to the NBA's Final Four?
This may go back to the last conversation we had, Dan, where we talked about if you are going to be successful in this league, you have to have talent, and you have to have talent that's willing to sacrifice for each other. If you have a selfish team, if you have a squad where you have guys who have their own priorities ahead of the team, whether that be a contract situation, trying to maximize their value for free agency, whatever it may be, if you have guys on your roster, no matter how talented they are, that have individual priorities above winning, you're not going to have a successful team. And I think for a good part of the early portion of the season, there were fractures throughout the team. I think there may have been, to a certain extent, not grossly, but maybe some individual agendas amidst the process of trying to get on the same page. And these individual agendas manifest itself when you're having frustration with the chemistry. You want things to work out. You're trying to get on the same page. And as you're butting heads or as things aren't going well, you're like, you know what? I'm going to get mine. I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to look for my shot as opposed to the extra pass or whatever it may be. So I think there was a little bit of that, which some of it is inevitable.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the dramatic change that we saw with the trade headed into this season. But one thing that it's easy to lose sight of is how long of a season it is. It is a long NBA season. A lot of complaints, whether it be from fans or whether it be criticism from media members, a lot of that stuff was November. A lot of that was December, when the season is still so young. And so over time, adding up the reps, getting on the same page, you find something that clicks, you find something that works. Bench goes to rotations that he thinks are where guys have the best chemistry, can work together, and tries to funnel those minutes towards certain lineups. And then to your point, as you brought up to start, the injury to Randall, the injury to Dante DiVincenzo. And I know these young guys are not going to get minutes unless it's garbage time, but I think a lot of credit to this turnaround. I think we look at it as, Julius really found his way in watching the team while he was injured, and giving a lot of credit to Julius, which he absolutely deserves. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up and give praise to the fact that, to the young guys, because Julius was watching not only the veterans and the regulars out there on the court, but he was watching TJ Shannon get an opportunity and go out there and play with reckless abandon. And he's playing as if I may not get another opportunity. I may not play tomorrow. What do I have to do to help the team? Jalen is coming into the ball game, and what do I have to do to help the team? I may not get in the rotation tomorrow. What can I do to help the squad? Is it just defending and that's it? Is it taking on this individual matchup, making the extra pass? There was so much sacrifice with the young guys because they were just of the mindset of, what do I need to do to help the team? And if I do this, I know I can stay out there on the court. And I think that attitude from the young guys absolutely was contagious and spread throughout the organization, and just kind of set a benchmark of, this is what it's all about. And I really do feel like that was a turning point for this team. And as we saw, Julius was already showing signs of this before the injury, but I think seeing what the young guys and what the guys out there were doing just kind of reinforced what he needed to do once he was back out there on the floor. And we've seen the team take off ever since.
Yeah, the young players part of this is an interesting angle that we've not heard much before, and I appreciate you bringing that up. That being maybe an underrated piece of this whole thing, because we concentrate obviously on the names. If you buy the notion that the gap between regular season officiating and postseason officiating has rarely been wider, that basically the league was inviting 155 to 152 in the regular season, and you might get murdered and still they might not call the foul in the postseason, is it fair to suggest that this style of officiating, this sort of almost, games filled with tough physical moments, best plays to bringing out all aspects of what Julius Randle can contribute to a team?
Yes. And I don't know how the masses feel about the elevation of physicality in this postseason, or what's allowed by the officials. But being a guy that watched 90s basketball, where if you didn't have blood, there wasn't a foul, I'm all for it. And I'm with Rudy Gobert, who said, if as long as you're calling it both ways, yeah, I'm good with the physicality. And so I'm all for it. I love that. We have all these conversations about foul merchants and guys getting to the free throw lines a bunch. I don't want to see that in the postseason. I don't want to see a parade to the free throw line in the postseason. So let the guys play, let the guys battle it out. And I do think the lower scores are a combination of nerves, 100%, when it comes to the postseason and the lights being brighter in these big moments, and the physicality and what you're allowed to do defensively, which we don't see enough of consistently in the regular season. But going back to Randall, I don't know that it's so much of the physicality. I just feel like from a basketball IQ standpoint, from a communication standpoint, from a game plan standpoint, he has a better understanding of what he needs to do to be effective. And he has a matchup in this series, especially, where it was Pedro Martinez, they call the Yankees my daddy. He is 100% pop to Draymond Green in this series. 100%. Anybody that lines up to try to defend Julius Randle is getting eaten up in this series. And he's taking advantage of that matchup. You talk about taking what the defense gives you. They give you an isolation. You're on an island with one player, and you have to go to work. And Julius is absolutely going to work. And so his decision-making over the course of this series and really in the postseason overall has been so good to watch because he is a strong, physical finisher, and you need that in the postseason. When points are hard to come by, as you mentioned, you have 125 to 120 in the regular season. In the postseason, you might have 99 to 95, and you need as good a looks and high percentage shots as possible. We all love the three, but if you have a guy who can absolutely operate at an efficient clip in the post and get looks at the rim with his physicality, it's an absolute godsend. And it's been huge watching Julius Randle in this series.
And in some cases, even the offense being run through him with great effectiveness as well. Ant has talked about in this series maybe better for him to be off the ball a little bit more compared to the Lakers series. And that does get me to Edwards. I want to talk a little bit about him. We were chatting with the TV voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Michael Grady. So before the first-round series, Mike Conley said, he talked to us about this, and I think he did in the general group with the reporters as well, that his view was that going into that series, he challenged Edwards in this regard. He said, look, you have to start thinking on the second and third level when teams come at you, the way he said, for example, they might do, or the way Luka needs to think historically, or LeBron James, etc. He seemed to be challenging him mentally. This stuff goes obviously beyond just the ability to score. So now we're, into Series 2, which could end tonight. Do you think Edwards has shown signs of doing exactly what Conley challenged him to try to do, to incorporate even more into his game?
I believe so, and I also think that the exciting part, and I say the exciting part because he's coming off of another strong performance with 30 points against the Warriors. I still feel like he's still scratching the surface in terms of seeing the floor, his decision-making, quick decision-making out there, and looking for his own shot and setting up his teammates. What he has to do out on the court as the player that gets the most attention out there on the court, he's the superstar. He's going to get the most defensive attention. They're all going to try to force the ball out of his hands. The challenge that he has, I think, is somewhat understated. I think you think, he's the best player. He should go out there and dominate. Who cares what they're doing to you? But you can get yourself into trouble trying to force things. You have to watch film. You have to, understand the game plan. You have to be able to see things out there on the court almost before it happens. So that when you do see that double team, and again, this comes from watching film and being in constant conversation with your teammates and the coaching staff. So as these doubles come or whatever they're trying to do to frustrate you and confuse you, you're one step ahead. And so as his decision-making improves, I think it elevates everybody. As he continues to stay aggressive, it elevates everyone out there on the court. And so, there was a little lull there in this Golden State series where you're like, okay, he doesn't seem to be in the accelerator as much as we're used to seeing. And I guess we have to credit him getting dunked on by Jonathan Kuminga for completely shifting the tenor of his approach in this series, or so it seems, because from the second half of Game 3 on, he's been an absolute terror for the Golden State Warriors. So what to your point, what Mike Conley asked of Anthony Edwards is not an easy thing, but he's slowly but surely figuring it out, and the understanding of when to get off the ball and when to get downhill and be aggressive. It's almost poetic the way that it's playing out there on the floor. When he's in the rhythm and he's figured it all out, it's poetic. We saw the same thing in the Lakers series. He said at one point after one of the games that throwing things at me kind of confused me a little bit, but I'll figure it out. And he absolutely figured it out, and he's done it again in this series.
Is it crucial for the Wolves to end this thing tonight?
It is crucial because you don't want to see Wardell, and I believe that the Timberwolves would have had a great shot of winning this series, whether Steph, even if Steph had played in this series. But you don't want to make that trip back to San Francisco. You don't want to invite the possibility that Steph gives them I got all the old references today, a Willis Reed type boost by going out there, drawing attention, getting the crowd excited by hitting a couple of threes. There's no way he would be 100% if he was able to go in a Game 6. But he would absolutely give the team a boost and take pressure off of, your Jimmy Butlers and your Podziemski, who looks like he's kind of wetting the bed in this series, which is just a part of the process when you're starting to get more meaningful minutes in a big time playoff game. Some of this is inevitable for a young player, but he's struggled, and other guys have struggled in this series. And so Steph is just kind of a calming influence. Their 3-point percentage has been horrible, and so from that standpoint alone, it would be disappointing to lose on your home floor. So that takes some of the wind out of your sails. Now you have to go to get the job done in San Francisco, and while you don't want to get ahead of yourself, taking care of business gives you another day's rest before any opponent that you would face in the Western Conference Finals, whether it be Oklahoma City, if they were to wrap things up. I think it would be tomorrow against the Denver Nuggets, or if that series were to go 7 games, it gives you even more time to get rest before what would be a grueling series in the Western Conference Finals. And another reason to bring that point up, to wrap up that thought, Dan, is the Timberwolves played with their food in the Western Conference semis last year. And that series ended up going 7 games, and they were tired heading into the Western Conference Finals and lost the first 2 games at home. So if there's any lesson to be learned from a season ago, is don't play with your food, welcome the rest, take care of business, and knock out the Golden State Warriors in Game 5.
Let me get I don't know if the time we've had you on, we've ever talked much about Draymond Green, and I don't want to turn it into, Golden State Warriors fan line, but I'm fascinated by him for lots of reasons, because he's such a bundle of contradictions. Example, I watched in full his press deal after Game 4. And he started it out by apologizing for ducking the reporters the previous game after all the nonsense. And then I thought he went about really effectively explaining why the Warriors are in the position they're in, why the Wolves are in the position they're in the series. Couldn't have been more, cerebral, detached, unemotional, just cutting edge, I thought, analysis. And then this is the same guy, though, who is capable of doing what we saw, obviously, earlier this series and what he did with Rudy. How do you process the remarkable contradictions of obviously one of the most unique, in terms of on-the-court basketball players who ever lived?
That's we're going to need more time. Not
need a podcast, maybe?
Because it's a great question. Because Draymond is the epitome of those players, and you kind of had one here in Minnesota and Patrick Beverley, and what I'm saying is the kind of guys who you hate to play against. But if they were on your team, you'd run through a brick wall for him. He leaves everything out there on the floor. He's passionate about the game. He's passionate about his teammates. He's passionate about the fan base. And he'll do anything and tiptoe on that edge and doing everything that he can to get his team a win. He's the loudest 5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists guy in the league. And I'm being a little, that may be a little disrespectful. Let's go 10.
Yeah.
10, 9, right. And 8 guy. But does so many crucial things, an effective communicator out there on the floor, and wants to do everything that he can to protect his legacy and the legacy of his team. As time goes on, he has become a habitual line stepper. And as you lose a step, the competitive fire is still there. But as you lose a step, and there's guys that are, he was never the most athletic guy, but there are guys that are far more athletic. You have more competitive guys, stronger defenders, elite physical scorers. And as you're now on the back nine of your career and you're facing this different kind of level of competition where you're not punching your opponent from a bully standpoint. Now you're the one that's kind of getting punched. I feel like the antics have become far more frequent. The following through on flailing your arms, the stomping on guys, the finding an excuse to choke out Rudy Gobert. All these things, it's just a ugly part that's kind of tarnishing, that is tarnishing his legacy. And so you talk to people about Draymond Green, they'll tell you he's an excellent guy. They'll tell you that he's personable. You'd want him as one of your friends because he'll do anything to support you if whatever's needed in a pinch. But on the court, I think his competitive fire, he just crosses the line far too many times. I think that he has taken a step back in this series, Dan, because I think there is an understanding, and this is why the Wolves smell blood, that Minnesota is clearly the better team. Like, I'm seeing him pat Rudy Gobert on the back. Like, who is this guy? And so I think he is resigned to the fact of what's happening before him, and that's why he's been a little bit tamer in this series, outside of a few instances. But nevertheless, he's a fascinating case study, and I think every generation has a few of those. Going back to the '90s with your Dennis Rodman types and guys like that. But he's a fascinating study, and I'll be curious to see if he, however many years he has left, if he's able to go gracefully into the sunset. Well,
this next question we might need yet another hour, but I'm going to ask anyway, because it's the follow-up, I think. His direct quote, "I'm tired of the agenda to make me look like the angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family, and I'm great at basketball and great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous." How did you react to that?
One of the things I try not to do is react too swiftly. I think a lot of folks jumped out and had a lot to say about what he said after the game, and then had to retract a little bit of their statements, given what was said to Draymond Green when he was on the stationary bike by the tunnel. And there was a fan who got out of pocket and said some racist things towards him, and kudos to the security staff and everybody for acting on that. And Draymond has expressed his appreciation for the Timberwolves organization for acting on that, and Steve Kerr did as well. There is 100% something in terms of being careful with pushing a angry black man narrative. And this is not just in the game, but in society as a whole. What a lot of people have trouble with in this case, that incident in the corner notwithstanding, because he was fired up with stuff that happened on the court. And I think a lot of the criticism was with things that happened on the court before he even got to the stationary bicycle. But I think the pause that a lot of people have is because he's done a lot of things on top of the court to feed the narrative. Let's just push the angry black man aside. That you're a hostile, unhinged at times presence on a basketball court. And someone who does things that doesn't belong on a basketball court. There are a lot of highly competitive guys in this league, right? I don't know that we can put in a montage of just any highly competitive player stomping on the chest of Domantas Sabonis, choking Rudy Gobert, when all Rudy did was try to break up a scuffle between Jaden McDaniels and Klay Thompson. The list, you can find the montage on social media of all these things that Draymond Green is doing to feed into the narrative that he is a hostile and at times unhinged competitor. And so I 100% hear him out on what he's saying in terms of this narrative in general, whether it be angry black man or angry black woman. But from a messenger standpoint, in terms of just the way that he plays basketball, in terms of the way that he competes and the things that he's liable to do on a basketball court, it makes for an interesting conversation, to say the least.
Last item for today, back to the Timberwolves. Gargi and I were talking about this yesterday, that I do think the way things are breaking in the NBA, East and West, there is an opportunity to be seized, not next year, not the year after, when we all presume the Wolves are going to continue to have a window as Edwards gets older, but right now, whether it be what's happened to Boston in the East and what has happened to Cleveland in the East after a terrific regular season, or even, what's going on in the other side of the West, where, Oklahoma City was a great regular season team. I don't think they're unbeatable. I look at this season, this postseason, as an opportunity for the Wolves to get all the way to the NBA Finals and then do something about it there. Do you agree?
Yeah, I grew up in Indiana, where the Pacers had several conference finals runs. And for one reason or another, it didn't work out. Losses to the New York Knicks, losses to Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, another loss to the New York Knicks. In 2000, getting past the Knicks, but then losing to Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, and the Lakers in the NBA Finals. Years later, when I'm actually working in Indiana with the Pacers, they went up against LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh from the Miami Heat. And I personally felt that those Pacer teams that went against Miami, depth-wise, they were better than the Miami Heat. But there's an intangible mentally on whether you actually believe that you are better than, in this case, Miami. And if you can't get over that mental hurdle, it doesn't matter how much talent you have. The team with more experience is always going to win in those situations. And from, fast forward to where we are now with this Minnesota Timberwolves squad, any of these remaining teams in the postseason, they have to have a belief that, let's say it's Oklahoma City, you're not going to have home court advantage.
True.
They have the presumed MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have an unbelievably deep squad. They're efficient on the offensive end. They are stifling on the defensive side of the ball. And if Minnesota has the belief that they can go toe-to-toe and beat Oklahoma City, then nothing will be able to stop them. It won't be easy. It won't be grueling because OKC is legit. But everything that they want and desire is right in front of them. And the last thing that you want is to go through the series and, we got to the Western Conference Finals and we're happy with that. Now let's make some tweaks and see what next season looks like. There's no guarantees that you're going to get back. Boston 100% believed that they can go out, that they were going to repeat this season. And then one pop of Jason Tatum's Achilles is now putting some serious doubt in that, in addition to the fact that they're down 3-1 in this series with the New York Knicks. There are countless examples of teams who believe, well, we'll just get right back. but there are no guarantees. All you have is what's right in front of you. And what you have in front of you is an opportunity to truly do something special. So throw excuses out the window. Well, you have a young superstar, but he's just 23 years old. Throw that out the window. Well, you have Julius Randle, but it's their first run, a playoff run together as a group. So maybe they still need another year together so that they can be even better. Throw that all out the window. Well, maybe Rudy's too old. Throw that nonsense out the window. Everything you want, everything you need is right there on the table, right in front of you. And what are you going to do with it? And Oklahoma City, in my opinion, will be the toughest test. I think Indiana, and if it ends up New York, will be a hell of a series.
Yes.
But I believe that whoever comes out of the West is going to win the NBA championship. And so you have to put everything into wrapping up this series with Golden State. Let's see what happens, whether it's OKC, again, they're in the driver's seat, or Denver, and then go from there. But you're right. This is a special opportunity. And for those who have been around long enough and have rooted for teams long enough, you're wise enough to know that these chances don't come that often. So it's up to those guys to have the belief and to go out there and execute and try to do something special, and something that we'll all remember for a very, very, very long time.
Very well put. As I kept it too long. I will tell you, just so you know, for your own information, that I've got a bunch of texts that people are worried you're going to leave. I know that's probably stuff that's pretty ticklish and difficult for you to talk about, but just suffice to say, there are people who are going, my God, we can't lose this guy. There's got to be a way. He's got to be here. All I will say on behalf of Justin and myself is, don't forget the little people. We just hope that as you continue to ascend, every once in a while, if Guardsy texts you or I DM you, that you go, no, what was? Yeah, that was kind of cute. That was kind of a cute little show in Minnesota. Just try to remember us every once in a while. Not a lot. We won't bug you a lot, but just enough. Can you make that vow?
No, there's no such thing. We're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat, and we're all. I think one thing that's accelerated real fast, and now wrapping up my third season here, and looking forward to more games in the future. But is that it's become a family real quick, and that's one of the things I knew about Minnesota when I came in. That's one of the things that I learned real quick, was that Minnesota loves hard. So. Regardless of what happens, if my attention is split in whatever direction, we'll always be family, and I'll always be willing to go on the show and go extra long.
Even better.
So any time, my friend.
We love the conversations. Good luck to your favorite team, and we will be in touch. Thanks as always, Michael. Much appreciated.
Appreciate you, my man. Thanks, Dan.
That's it. Michael Grady, great stuff from him as always. We blew right through about a break and a half. So we'll come back, take a break, and then sort of set up the rest of the program, including a visit with Johnny Athletic in the 4 o'clock hour.
Not going to the game, but want to be part of the action? Head down to Kieran's Irish Pub in Minneapolis. Game 5 Ultra KFAN watch party tonight with Halvey. Kicking off the pre-party at 8. Got chances to win prizes, play games, and sample Michelob Ultra. All the details are at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Circuit to Timberwolves media relations. My suggestion is that somebody podcast the show later, captures about a 3.5 to 4 minute speech by Michael Grady regarding seize the moment. Seize the bleeping moment, no matter what it says about we're not quite ready and this is a year earlier than we really thought and all that nonsense. That's the speech, or one of the speeches. If Finchie doesn't want to talk before tonight's game or before the next series, just have the players listen to the way Grady laid it out, going back into the NBA history, some of the old Pacers teams that he knows, opportunities lost, et cetera, et cetera. I thought he was very effective in that regard. Although there's some of that Guardsy pessimism here, like from what's the name here? It is Clement. Why does everyone think the Wolves are going to win tonight? This is Minnesota. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves. Nothing is guaranteed. Wolves lose tonight by 5.
Here's what I'll say to Clement.
Change the space. Be happy.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. No, trust me, I understand that. You asked Grady another question after, or you kind of you lobbed him about his national gigs and his rumors or whatever, which he can't really talk about because none of them are official. For those wondering,
correct,
or officially announced yet. But if there are even national gigs, who knows? I'm not Andrew Marchand. I'm not Richard Deitch.
You could be.
When I have enough jobs.
Oh.
When he went on that 3-minute thing, I was going to jump in and go, how the hell are we supposed to wait 4.5 hours for tip after that? Like, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, I was ready for John Barry to grab the mic at Target Center and the fire and the whole bit. Like that, there's 4.5 hours until tip after that. It was epic.
You know how this stuff goes, too. You can dress it up if you want to. You can put it to whatever music that you think might even add a little extra flourish. There's a million ways that you can play with it and mess with it. What time's your apology to the Minnesota Twins, by the way?
We're back. It's unbelievable.
We won our 9th it's a doubleheader after a rain out last night. We won the opener. We beat the who are we playing? Baltimore
Orioles. Yeah,
the struggling Orioles 6-3 in the first game of a doubleheader. Your guy Vasquez, a 3-run dong. We survived not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 errors.
Yep.
The Twins relievers were brilliant in refusing to give up runs when they had every excuse to do it. That improved our winning streak to 9 games. I believe we are now behind in the second game. We were up early, and I think we're now down. Is it 6-4 last I saw?
Yeah, it's 6-4 in the top of the 4th.
So it's early enough where we might well still end up with another sweep of the doubleheader.
Yeah, we were actually up 3. We were up 4-0, and Simeon Woods Richardson, it looks like, had kind of a meltdown in the third. He gave up all 6 runs in the third, including a couple of dongs. So the Orioles just took the lead the last half inning. And now we're down 6-4, but Buck just coaxed a walk.
See?
With 2 outs.
This is a lot of baseball yet to be played in the second game. So we're at a 9-game winning streak. Means we're over 500 now. And like I said, pretty soon we might have to get Gleeman back in on the conversation because he's written some good stuff about who he believes at the quarter pole is who are the sort of the MVPs for the club so far this year, and one of them might not be so obvious to people as well. From my standpoint, I'm not going to say I'd be gobsmacked if we lost tonight. I don't think I can go that far. I would be fairly surprised. On the other hand, I also wouldn't be all that shocked if they'd go. The Wolves would go back west, and you'll get, I'm sure, back in the red eye to do it again.
I haven't even looked. When's that game? Sunday, right?
That's Sunday. There's the long delay now.
Yeah.
That they might go out there and win the game. Now, you don't want to tempt the basketball gods for the reasons that are obvious that Grady alluded to.
Yep.
Is that the latest on Steph is what? That he's going to be he's been cleared to do some drills. And then he's going to be reevaluated on Saturday. Saturday's the new key day. Well, the game's the next day. So would he be, is it still likely he would play? I don't think there's any guarantee. But you don't even want to open the door to the possibility for the Willis Reed moment, even if he can't play a lot or he isn't great. Knowing him, he'd probably still hit, 5 3-pointers. So the bit is, don't tempt the basketball gods who've seemingly done you a favor by giving you this opening. Just and give the home fans a chance to celebrate here.
That's right.
Give them the opportunity for the first time, what do we say, in 21 years, to wrap up a playoff series at home. That would not be the worst either. If you have questions for Johnny Athletic, hit the Bradshaw and Brad KFAN text line. 64686 is the number. Kessler is going to join us in studio at 5:30. We'll continue to monitor any updates regarding Vikings schedule leaks. And we'll give you some of the highlights of that. Maybe even with Johnny, we can get in a little bit more of that besides the basketball. And then, of course, the official announcement on the schedule, I think, will be made. All of it comes out at 7 p.m. Central. So keep that in mind as well.